Hello, I'm Sarah Clark and I'm an advisory teacher with the Communication and Interaction team.
And I'm Lucy Bomford. I'm a speech and language therapist and an advisor also with the CNI team.
So this webinar is aimed at supporting you with those first steps following your identification of language needs. If you've not yet carried out any assessment, please do watch our short webinar on identification and assessment before proceeding, and details are in the description just below. The strategies and resources that we'll suggest today are considered as a good initial response to meeting those needs, and we hope that it will help you to identify the first steps to support. This will enable a first cycle of assess, plan, do and review, and we ask that you complete this cycle before requesting specialist support. So this short webinar offers just some ideas, and you will no doubt have other resources and strategies that will also be helpful in relation to supporting language difficulties. In following the guidance on identification and assessment, you will have created a profile of strengths and needs across the areas shown on the screen now. It remains important to work on the supporting skills at the base of the pyramid, as well as focusing on the areas of concern further up. Getting the foundation skills in place will ensure that children are more ready to access the curriculum. And if you do use the language link interventions, you'll know that they always recommend starting with a listening group in order to create an excellent foundation and potentially improve the effectiveness of any subsequent language work. So let's think more carefully now about ways to support listening and attention. The information seen on this slide comes from both the Devon Graduated Response Tools and the Worcestershire Speech and Language Team's website. Again, all the links are in the details below. So universal support for listening and attention can easily be targeted across a wide range of curriculum subjects. Within the early years and Key Stage 1, music lessons are a great opportunity for listening out for particular sounds. And if we think about literacy, we can ask children to listen out for particular words, or within PE, they're asked to follow a specific action when they hear a particular command. As children grow older and move into Key Stage 2, bingo or lotto games can work really well and can be linked to topic vocabulary. You may well be doing some of these things already as whole class activities. However, for children with identified difficulties with listening and attention, they will need more opportunities to practice, and your intervention may be timetabling these extra slots for practicing such skills. We've included an additional link from the Barnsley Speech and Language Therapy team demonstrating how to set up barrier games, which are another really good way to target these skills. So we want to focus here on the importance of adult-child interaction and the value of adults modelling positive interactions across the year groups as a way to develop these skills. What are the opportunities for interactions and how are these planned into the day? Jean Gross, the former communication champion, encourages us to plan a time, a place and a reason for children to talk. And role play areas with supportive prompts and props are an easy and exciting way to provide such opportunities. But children with identified needs will need that little bit extra, and this could include mentoring opportunities to practice the skills and processes required to access such role play. This could also be supported and explored through the use of a social narrative, for example. In more formal curricular tasks, allocating specific roles within group work can support discussion. Practicing the use of sentence stems or sentence starters and making pre-teaching vocabulary a regular part of your provision will again build skills and confidence. Identified children will need opportunities to understand and practice using these resources outside of curricular work before being supported to do so in class. And adults should also be aware of the importance of breaking down communication skills and explicitly noticing or drawing attention to the use of these skills in others. So, for example, I might say, Did you notice when I was talking and explaining about the maths task, James was looking at me and nodding? That really helped me to understand that he was listening and that he was understanding what I was saying.
Let's move on to thinking about supporting understanding. Developing receptive language skills can be a long process, but there are a few key areas that will make a difference to all children and develop their own understanding of the things they may find difficult. Whilst many children with identified language needs will benefit from targeted intervention, language is a constant through the day, and these core strategies provide that good universal level of support. There are lots of great resources to support pre-teaching of vocabulary, and no doubt you have many in school. We've added links below to the Pip St John pre-teaching resources from the NAPLIC website and also the Education Endowment Foundation's Vocabulary in Action tool. With regards to using less language, some people worry that this means giving children less exposure to key vocabulary, and what we know is that our identified children will actually need many more exposures to that vocabulary. However, really what we mean here is thinking carefully about which of our words carry meaning and trying to reduce all of those extra words that we may put in for politeness, such as would you like to, rather than giving a direct instruction. Our tone will show our intention, and cutting out the unnecessary words will really help children to focus on the key message. There's a useful short video on supporting understanding, and we'll put a link to that in the information below as a reminder for teachers of the key strategies for the classroom. When we talk about using visuals, we tend to think first about visual timetable, but there are many other visual tools which will be of huge benefit to supporting children's understanding, and lots of additional benefits of using visuals, some of which are shown on this slide. You'll probably be using things like graphic organisers at whole class level, which is really good practice, and children with identified needs may benefit from a slightly simplified version or from additional opportunities to be shown and practice how to use the visual supports. If you completed a blank level assessment, as we described in the assessment webinar, then Language for Thinking or Language for Behaviour and Emotions would be really appropriate to support you with putting in intervention. There are also some really useful freely available activity ideas for supporting the development of understanding at the different levels of blank. We've put a link to one of those documents in the list below. These activities are usually in the form of conversations or discussions when we are modelling and giving children opportunities to develop their understanding and to practice verbal reasoning skills. The first strategy to support comprehension monitoring is providing sufficient processing time for children to be able to understand. Apply the 10-second rule for pupils with language needs before you repeat. Comprehension monitoring needs to be taught to the whole class to support your asking friendly environment. You may decide as a class how children will let you know that they haven't understood, and it's really important that whatever system you agree on is available to everyone rather than just to certain targeted children. Our children with language needs will need additional supported opportunities to practice their comprehension monitoring skills, including using the agreed non-verbal system. This should initially be outside of curricular tasks before they're given structured chances to practice within the lesson. Being able to ask for support would be a useful functional target for a school-based plan. The area of need that you've identified may be around children's use of language, and we're going to think now about what extra those pupils might need to help them develop their talking skills. The strategies and resources that you can see on the screen will be really familiar to you as whole class tools to support learning. As we talked about earlier in this webinar, children with identified language needs will benefit from explicit teaching and modelling of how to use the provided tools, and may need slightly simplified versions as they develop their skills. Visuals that support organisation of thought will be particularly helpful for those children that you've identified with narrative or storytelling difficulties. You'll be aware of specific interventions to support narrative development, such as the Black Sheep Press narrative packs, parts of Language for Behaviour and Emotions, and Victoria Joffe's narrative intervention programme for older pupils. There are also useful resources on Language Link and in the Outland Language Builders books. If there isn't the capacity to run these small group interventions at present, it's worth reviewing which elements can be used as whole class support. Interventions like colourful semantics lend themselves particularly well to whole class use. Some children may be learning and remembering phonemes, but may have difficulty in applying this to literacy. It's really important that we look at phonological awareness skills such as rhyme identification and production. SpeechLink have produced a 12-session intervention specifically targeting phonological awareness skills.
So many of you will be familiar with the SEMH SLCN screening tool, and this is just really a quick reminder that there is a place within the tool to link the areas that you've identified as difficult for the children that you're thinking about to your intervention planning, and you can see that highlighted on the document now. As you scroll down further towards the end of the tool, you'll also find lots of information about planning support for both SEMH and language skills. These areas match the headings on the initial screening part of the tool, so they link directly to the areas of difficulty that you've identified. So once you have implemented some strategies and resources and reviewed them, you will have successfully completed a plan, do, review cycle. And the things, as we said at the start, that we've talked about in this webinar are just a few examples of some of the tools, resources and interventions you may want to implement. Where further advice or support is required following this cycle, an online consultation with your CNI advisory team may be considered. But when making a referral, please send us your most recent reviewed school-based plan, as it's really helpful for us to see what you've already tried, the impact of that support, and then we can build on what you've tried so far.